So I usually do these videos as a match review, but in special circumstances today where the match itself didn't really matter, I think I'm going to go down a slightly different route. I'm probably going to start as well by saying this one thing that I think is true about football in general, is that every supporter of every club up and down the country thinks that their football club is special, and in my opinion it's actually true. Every different club has got something that's unique about it. When it comes to Liverpool, the reason I think that Liverpool is so special is that it's a club that always wears its heart on its sleeve. It's a club that makes no excuses, or it makes no apologies for the fact it is extremely sentimental. And when it comes to a day like this where you're sending off a much loved manager after 8.5 years, several major trophies, countless incredible memories and goals and great moments and games, then Liverpool is going to be an emotional place. Anfield is going to be an emotional place, and I think that's absolutely what we saw today. It was an emotional send-off for Jurgen Klopp, and one that's fully deserved after such an incredible era at Liverpool. And it was a party atmosphere really from very early on here. I mean, I arrived at Anfield around 3.5 hours before kick-off, and there were already so many people milling around wanting to just soak in every moment of this special day. I mean, it helps when the weather's absolutely phenomenal. You may notice I'm wearing a t-shirt, which doesn't happen very often at Anfield. I usually spend 9 months absolutely freezing, so I think that absolutely helped that it was a really nice day here in Liverpool. But as I say, people had turned out early. They wanted to make the most of things, and I spoke to a few fans around the ground before the game and just asked them to sum up what Jurgen Klopp means to them. And you know, so many buzzwords in there in terms of the emotion and how great a manager and the success, of course, all those things were touched upon. But it's more, I think the focus really was on the personal connection that he's made to Liverpool supporters, and that was writ large in the atmosphere today. As I say, a party atmosphere before, and that just continued in the build up to the match. I mean, I saw the coach welcome when the team and obviously Jurgen turned up before the game, and they come in and drive into the main stand, and really the atmosphere there was flares going off, the crowd was singing. It was almost like a Champions League semi-final that they were welcoming to, not really a dead rubber to end the season against Wolverhampton Wanderers. So it was an incredible atmosphere in the build-up, and as I say, just a real testament to how much Jurgen Klopp is absolutely loved here. And I think, again, you know, when you're closing in on the match kicking off, the 5 or 6, 7, 8 minutes before kick-off, everybody knew that Jurgen was about to come out, and his song just kicked off over and over and over again. And obviously that version of the Beatles, I Feel Fine, was just going and going and going in the build up to a crescendo of him coming out and being greeted by a wall of red, and obviously the mosaic was all around us, which you will have seen the videos of, and Anfield looked incredible, it sounded incredible, and it was just a great moment really to mark Jurgen Klopp and what he means to this football club. Now, with all that emotion in the build-up, the match could have actually been a difficult one for Liverpool, because obviously when you've got the focus is elsewhere in the way that it was today, you know, sometimes you can take your eye off the ball, and Wolves would have come here thinking we can get a win here and sign off the season in style. But I thought it was really the fact that Liverpool did so well in the game and sort of dominated the game from start to finish. I think that kind of underlines the respect that these players have for the manager, in terms of they just didn't want him to end on a sour note, and wanted to make sure he gets the perfect send-off with a win and a good performance, and they absolutely put that in. In fact, Jurgen Klopp becomes the first Liverpool manager since 1928 to win his final game in charge of the club, which, you know, so it shows it's a rare feat. But again, I think it underlines that these players want to run through brick walls. They wanted to do everything they could to make this an extra special day for him. Obviously, we're slightly aided by the fact that Wolves get an early red card, a deserved red card, but I still think it's still tough to do it in these circumstances. And as I say, I think the respect really that the players have for the manager was a key part to them being able to get the job done in such an emotional atmosphere and such strange circumstances. Really, you don't really get an atmosphere like this very often in football at all, to be honest. Now, you know, again, that respect I'm talking about, I think that was underlined by the players in terms of their reactions at the full-time whistle. You saw Virgil van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold both in tears on the pitch, really very, very emotional, reacting to the fact that Jurgen Klopp is leaving. And I think, you know, it's so understandable. He's so big, isn't he, on making a bond with his players, and it being like a father figure to them. And so for him to go, and particularly for someone like Trent as well, who's never worked under any other manager, and Virgil, who, you know, makes no secret that it's the best manager and the biggest influence on his career that he's had so far, you know, for those two to lose a man of that stature is absolutely massive. And they weren't shy of showing their emotions really in that moment. And, you know, Klopp himself actually held it together remarkably well. I'd have to say probably better than I expected him to. And I thought his speech was absolutely pitch perfect, which had, you know, that's him to a T, isn't it, in terms of he's a brilliant football manager, a brilliant character, but he chooses his words so well, speaking in his second language as well, which is easy to forget. He's so eloquent and always picks, you know, he always really gets to the heart of any situation, and he really nailed it here. And what I thought was, again, sort of typical of Jurgen Klopp, is it wasn't just about him and his emotions on leaving this club. It was about looking to the future and what's going to happen next. And obviously, you know, he talked about he's got a young squad there, so much potential to improve, so much further growth that can come when he leaves, and that Liverpool, you know, this feels, he said, like the start of something rather than the end of something. And he also, of course, you know, and I think that was underlined, actually. I will mention that, you know, in some of the youth that was in the squad, I mean, I thought Harvey Elliott had another good game, Jarell Quansah, they're going to be big parts of what the next manager does. Trent obviously is just entering into his peak now. Curtis Jones still young, you've got McAllister just entering into his peak, Szoboszlai is the same, you know, not to mention Conor Bradley, and Jayden Danns wasn't in the squad, but, you know, all these players who are going to be in and around it, you know, they provide a solid foundation, and Jurgen Klopp really wanted a nod to that. And of course, the future without him means that there's a new manager coming in, and that's Arne Slot. And he even teed off a song for Arne Slot. Again, you'll see the clips, you can find these on my Twitter, DM Lynch LFC, if you've not seen it. But he started up a song for Arne Slot before he's even come in, and again, just a measure of the man, the sheer class to be thinking in that moment where it's all about him, about the next manager, and trying to tee him up and make sure he comes into the best circumstances and has the fans right behind him from day one. And again, just absolutely sums Jurgen Klopp up for me. But I think one thing I want to touch on as well is that there's been talk, hasn't there, in recent weeks, of Liverpool's dip, and obviously it cost them the Premier League and the Europa League, and obviously there was talk around maybe his send-off has been slightly ruined by not winning the Premier League this season. But I just think when you look at the atmosphere here this season, everybody involved here appreciates what Jurgen Klopp has brought to this club. There's no thinking about what Liverpool didn't win. There's all thoughts about what they did win, and he's been unbelievably successful, barring, you know, Manchester City and Real Madrid. You know, if they hadn't existed, you know, he'd had even more trophies on board. But what he did win was still an unbelievable amount. You know, things that Liverpool weren't in a position to win when he came to the club, and he's absolutely transformed the fortunes. And I would also say this season in itself has been a huge success as well. He's got Liverpool back in the Champions League, which is, you know, comfortably back in the Champions League as well. There was never any doubt about that from early in the season that they were going to return, and then got a trophy on board as well to win that in those circumstances at Wembley. You know, you could say that that's a poor return when if you're thinking only about the Premier League. But at the end of the day, this season's going to end, and if the FA Cup final goes to form, then Manchester City and Liverpool are the only Premier League teams who have lifted a trophy this season. So to be amongst that, and also get back in the Champions League, which is vital, you know, you shouldn't take that for granted. It's been a fantastic season, and if Slot has a similar season next season, he will be over the moon really for a debut season for a manager to end like that. So let's not forget that you know, you shouldn't allow people to do down what this campaign has been. It's been a very very good one, and as I say, to get back into the Champions League as well, when Liverpool, prior to Jurgen Klopp, had qualified in one of the last 6 seasons. Again, that shows you it's a massive achievement really, and something that should be celebrated. And you can hope that that's provided the foundation for Liverpool to keep that level of achievement up, and even build on it possibly. Now obviously there is a foundation there for Slot, isn't there, to come in and build on, and that is something he can really look forward to. I think his biggest challenge, of course, is the personality aspect. You know, can he be as big a character as Jurgen Klopp? It's hard to imagine he can, but he's going to approach it in his own way. Maybe he can be the Paisley to Klopp very much being the Shankly. We'll have to see, and that is the biggest test, as I say. But in terms of the football foundation that's there, back in the Champions League, great young squad, I think he's got an awful lot to really look forward to when he takes over at Liverpool. Now, just want to finish up really by talking about the emotion of the day, and what it means sort of from the perspective of the fans and everybody inside Anfield really. And as I say, I think the fact he's had a successful end to his Liverpool career is phenomenal, because he deserves that. You know, it was beautiful really that he's been able to have a fantastically successful season to sign it off, and it just sort of reminds you really to be kind of sad that it's over. And I think, you know, everybody who's been watching here and who's followed this journey, you know, everybody at home as well who's watching it, I think the saddest element as well is not just losing Jurgen Klopp, the man and the manager, and everything else that he brings to a football club. I think almost it makes you reflect on what it means to you personally, and you know, it's almost a little era of your life ending. You know, for me personally, it's been 8.5 years of coming to Anfield every week and watching a Jurgen Klopp side, seeing him at press conferences every Friday, and you just grow into that habit. And so, you know, so much has changed in my life since he came in, and to look back and reflect on that, that's the true sadness, is that, you know, that is coming to an end. I've become, he's become part of the furniture of my life, and so to lose him in that way is kind of something I have to come to terms with over this summer. It's going to be really unusual, and I'm sure you will all feel the same. Seeing a new manager on the touchline is going to be very, very weird. Hearing someone else speak in press conferences, and yeah, Jurgen Klopp will absolutely be missed. But the one thing I will say to kind of sign this off is that I think, they always say, don't they, that you never appreciate when you're in the good old days until they're gone. But I think every single Liverpool fan who's been on this journey with Jurgen Klopp has sort of appreciated, even while it's been going on, that these are the good old days, and that should soak up every minute. And I think today really summed up that I think every Liverpool supporter who's been involved, every reporter, everybody who's been anywhere near this journey has absolutely appreciated and soaked up every second of it. And when you take that approach to things in life, you probably end and you come away without any real regrets. And I think that is the lesson of the Jurgen Klopp era, is that everybody's loved every second of it, lived every second of it, thrown themselves fully into it. And now it's over, we can have no regrets about that. And yes, there might be a little bit of sadness, but you'll never feel that you didn't make the most of it, because I think everyone absolutely did. And we will look back on this in years and weeks and even days really, and think, yeah, we made the most of that, and it was a truly phenomenal time in all our lives. So I'm going to leave it there from Anfield. Obviously there's so much to come on the channel coming up, so it's a good time to like and subscribe. I always say that because obviously transfer period coming up, got a new manager coming up, so much to get stuck into, so much to look forward to. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there for now, and I'll see you guys very, very soon.